You are not your thoughts. There's a voice inside your head right now, whispering, questioning, narrating. It tells you what's right, what's wrong, what's possible, and what's not. It replays memories, imagines futures, and sometimes it even argues with itself. But here's the truth that few ever realize. You are not that voice. You are the one who hears it. This realization changes everything. Most people spend their entire lives trapped in the echo of their own thinking, mistaking the noise for their identity. They chase happiness, success, or peace, believing that once the mind stops racing, life will finally make sense. But the mind never stops. It's not designed to. It moves like the ocean, endlessly rising and falling, forming waves of thought that crash and disappear. The secret is not to silence it, but to understand it. The thoughts are not you, but the weather passing through the sky of your awareness. From the moment you wake, the voice begins, planning, judging, remembering, worrying. It tells you who you are, what others think, and how the day will go. And without noticing, you start to believe it. You wear its words like skin. I'm not good enough. I've failed. I need to be better. I can't change. Each thought feels personal, heavy, and real. But they're only patterns, stories written by the mind to explain what it sees. The problem begins when you mistake those stories for truth. When you step back and simply watch your thoughts, something powerful happens. You start to see the difference between the voice and the listener. A thought arises, I'm anxious, but who noticed that thought? Another comes, I'm not good enough, but who heard it? That silent watcher, that space behind your thinking, that's you. It doesn't judge. It doesn't react. It simply observes. It's the awareness that existed before the thought appeared and remains after it fades. The mind is like a storyteller that never stops talking. Some stories make you laugh. Some make you cry. Some make you afraid to live. But when you know you're not the story, you're the screen on which it plays, everything changes. You no longer need to control every thought or fight every emotion. You can let them flow, knowing they don't define you. Anger may visit, but it's not who you are. Fear may whisper, but it's only passing through. You are the space that allows them to come and go. For centuries, philosophers and mystics have tried to express this truth in different ways. The Buddha taught that attachment to thought creates suffering. Descartes said, I think, therefore I am, but perhaps he only saw half the truth. You think, yes, but you're before the thought, during it, and after it. Thought is an instrument, not your identity. It's a servant that became the master because we forgot who was really in charge. Try this. Sit quietly and listen to the next thought that appears. Don't judge it. Don't push it away. Just notice it, like watching a bird fly across the sky. Now, ask yourself, who is watching that thought? The answer doesn't come in words. It's a feeling, spacious, silent, infinite. That's awareness. That's you. When you start identifying with that space, instead of the noise, peace naturally arises. Because awareness doesn't cling. It doesn't label. It simply is. Thoughts about the past lose their grip, and worries about the future dissolve into the present moment. You begin to realize that peace was never missing. It was only covered by layers of mental noise. But this realization isn't easy. The mind resists it. It thrives on attention. It wants to be heard, believed, and obeyed. It will say things like, of course I'm real. I'm thinking right now. It will flood you with reasons why you're your thoughts. Yet, every time you notice a thought without believing it, you weaken its hold. Awareness grows, and thought becomes what it always was, fleeting, temporary, like wind moving through trees. Understanding that you're not your thoughts is not about rejecting them. It's about embracing them without attachment. It's the art of watching the storm without getting drenched. You stop saying, I am sad, and start seeing sadness is passing through me. You stop saying, I am anxious, and see, anxiety is here right now, but it's not me. This shift in language rewires your inner world. Suddenly, emotions and ideas no longer own you. They visit you. Even the most painful thoughts lose their power when seen clearly. Imagine holding a burning coal. It hurts only when you grasp it. The moment you release it, the pain ends. Thoughts are the same. The suffering comes not from the thought itself, but from clinging to it, replaying it, believing it defines you. Letting go doesn't mean the thought disappears. It means you stop identifying with it. In time, you begin to live more consciously. When joy arises, you enjoy it fully. When sorrow appears, you observe it gently. Life becomes lighter because you are no longer tangled in every passing idea. The mind still speaks, but now it's background music, not the director of your life. To realize you are not your thoughts is to wake up from a long dream. A dream where every fear, desire, and memory felt like you. When you awaken, you see that life flows effortlessly through you, not because you control it, but because you finally stopped resisting it. The real you was never lost. It was simply hidden behind the noise of the mind. This awareness doesn't just bring peace, it brings freedom. You no longer live at the mercy of every emotion. You can think deeply without drowning in your thoughts. You can feel fully without becoming your feelings. You can finally rest, not because the world stopped moving, but because you found the stillness within it. You are the sky. Thoughts are just the weather. Let them pass. No matter how dark the clouds become, the sky is never harmed. It remains vast, silent, and untouched. That's what you are. Not the storm, but the space that holds it all. Our thoughts are powerful, yet they are not us. They appear, drift, and vanish, much like clouds crossing a vast sky. The problem begins when we mistake these clouds for the sky itself. We become so identified with the storm of our thinking that we forget we are the stillness behind it. You are not your thoughts is not merely a comforting phrase. It's one of the most profound truths about human consciousness. To understand this truth is to step into freedom, a kind of liberation that no achievement, possession, or recognition can ever bring. From the moment we wake up, thoughts begin to form. What should I wear? What if I fail? Why do they say that? It's an endless narrative, a stream of internal dialogue that rarely pauses. These thoughts build stories about who we are, what others think of us, and what our life means. But here's the illusion. Thoughts are not reality. They are interpretations of reality. They are mental echoes shaped by memory, emotion, and conditioning. Think of your mind as a projector and your thoughts as the film. The movie playing is not the real world. It's a constructed version, edited by belief and tinted by past experiences. When you identify with every frame, you become trapped in the story. You start thinking, I am anxious, I am unworthy, I am my pain. But anxiety is not you. It's a state passing through you. Guilt, anger, sadness, they are weather patterns, not your identity. Modern life has made this confusion worse. We live in a world that constantly demands thought, planning, calculating, comparing. Even in moments meant for rest, the mind keeps racing. You may lie in bed at night, eyes closed, body still, yet your mind continues its marathon. Replaying conversations, predicting outcomes, constructing worries about events that haven't even happened. This endless internal noise creates exhaustion, not of the body, but of the soul. Here lies the irony. We spend our entire lives trying to think our way out of suffering, but thought itself is the source of much of it. Every judgment, every regret, every fear, all are thought-based illusions. The mind loves control, it fears stillness. Silence threatens its existence because when the mind quiets, something deeper begins to awaken: awareness. Awareness is not thought. Awareness sees thought. It observes without judging. Imagine sitting quietly by a river. The flowing water represents your thoughts. Most people are swept away by the current, carried wherever it goes. Awareness, however, sits on the riverbank, watching the flow with gentle curiosity. You are that awareness. You are not the stream. You are the witness. When you begin to watch your thoughts rather than be consumed by them, a beautiful shift happens. You realize that thoughts lose their power the moment you stop believing in them. The thought, I am not good enough, only has strength when you give it attention. If you see it as just another cloud passing by, it dissolves on its own. This detachment does not mean apathy. It means clarity. When you stop identifying with every mental story, you can respond to life rather than react. You become present, truly alive in this moment, not lost in yesterday or tomorrow. The mind will still speak, but it will no longer be the master. You will hear its voice, but you'll know it's not you. Spiritual teachers and philosophers have spoken of this separation for centuries. The Buddha called it right mindfulness, observing thoughts without clinging. Eckhart Tolle describes it as the watcher of the mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The common thread among all these teachings is this: the mind is a tool, not your essence. Think of how many thoughts pass through your mind each day, tens of thousands. Can they all possibly define you? Of course not. Most are repetitive, automatic, and meaningless. Some are random fragments from the subconscious, others echoes of past emotions. Yet we build entire identities around them. We suffer over words that never leave our heads. Freedom begins the moment you step back and say, "I am thinking this thought, but I am not this thought." The moment that distance appears, peace begins to return. You start to feel the quiet beneath the noise. That quiet is your true self, vast, stable, and untouched by the chaos of thinking. When you truly grasp that you're not your thoughts, judgment fades. You no longer condemn yourself for having dark or negative ideas. You understand that the mind produces them naturally, just as lungs breathe and the heart beats. You don't fight the mind, you watch it. You let it pass. Over time, thoughts lose their grip and awareness shines more clearly. And then something extraordinary happens. Silence becomes comfortable. Instead of fearing the gaps between thoughts, you begin to crave them. Those moments of stillness are not empty. They are full of peace, intuition, and clarity. You start hearing the quiet wisdom that exists beyond thinking. Most people live their lives chasing happiness through mental solutions. If I just fix this, then I'll be at peace. But peace isn't found by solving every thought. It's found by realizing that peace was always there, hidden beneath the chatter. The mind is an incredible servant, but a terrible master. When it serves awareness, it becomes creative, intelligent, and useful. When it rules awareness, it becomes fearful, repetitive, and destructive. The key to transformation is not to silence the mind by force, but to see it for what it is, a temporary, impersonal flow of energy. Every great transformation in consciousness begins with one realization: you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness watching them, the silent observer beneath the noise. The thoughts may rise and fall, but the witness remains. That is your true identity, infinite, timeless, and free. When you begin to understand that you're not your thoughts, the world around you starts to look different. Everything that once seemed overwhelming, the noise, the chaos, the self-doubt, starts to lose its weight. You no longer drown in the sea of mental chatter. You learn how to float. And in that stillness, something miraculous unfolds, awareness of who you truly are. This awareness is not intellectual. It's not something you can read in a book or explain perfectly in words. It's something you feel, a subtle yet powerful realization that the essence of your being has always been watching, silently, behind the scenes. When you stop over-identifying with the noise of your mind, a deeper sense of peace begins to rise within you, a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, success, or approval. Let's take a moment to reflect on how most people live. From morning to night, they're trapped inside their heads. Their thoughts tell them who to be, what to fear, what to chase, and what to regret. They're either regretting the past or worrying about the future. But life, real life, exists only in this exact moment. The past is a shadow. The future is a projection. The present is all that ever truly is. When you're lost in thought, you miss the present completely. You walk, but you don't see the world around you. You breathe, but you don't notice the rhythm. You hear someone's voice, but your mind is already crafting a response instead of listening. You live in a world filtered by assumptions, judgments, and memories. And slowly, this habit steals your sense of wonder. The power of realizing you are not your thoughts is that it restores your connection with reality, with life itself. Suddenly, the color of the sky looks richer. The sound of rain feels alive. The silence between breaths becomes sacred. You become a witness to existence instead of a prisoner of imagination. This awareness transforms ordinary moments into profound experiences. But reaching this state is not about escaping your mind. It's about befriending it. The mind is not your enemy. It's simply doing what it was designed to do. Think. Just as your heart beats, your mind creates thoughts. The problem arises when you believe every thought as truth. Consider this. If you sat near a busy road, you wouldn't try to stop every car from passing. You'd simply watch them go by. Some cars might be noisy, some slow, some beautiful, but you wouldn't chase or resist them. You just observe. Thoughts work the same way. You don't need to block them or follow them. You only need to watch them. And the more you watch, the more distance grows between you and the noise. Meditation, mindfulness, and even simple breathing exercises are not about controlling the mind. They are about remembering that you are the observer. With practice, you'll notice moments when thoughts come but don't stick. You'll begin to feel the gentle awareness that rests beneath the surface of all thinking. It's calm. It's silent. It's you. There's an ancient saying, the mind makes a wonderful servant but a terrible master. When you are unaware, the mind dominates your life. It tells you who you are, what you should want, and what you should fear. But when awareness awakens, the roles reverse. The mind becomes a tool again, useful but secondary. You use it when needed, then let it rest. This shift is not just spiritual, it's deeply practical. When you're no longer ruled by every thought, you make better decisions. You stop reacting impulsively. You don't take every criticism personally. You begin to notice how much of your suffering was never caused by the world. It was caused by the stories your mind told about it. A simple example, someone ignores your message. The mind instantly says, they must be angry at me. Then it builds an entire narrative. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe they don't value me. Hours pass, emotions rise, and suddenly you're hurt over a story that exists only in your head. When you are aware, you see this thought arise, and you smile at it. You recognize it as just another passing cloud. The storm never begins because you never feed it. Freedom, then, is not the absence of thoughts. It's the absence of identification with them. Once you stop confusing the voice in your head for who you are, peace flows naturally. This realization also transforms how you relate to pain. Suppose you feel anxiety. Normally, the mind says, I'm anxious. Something's wrong with me. But awareness sees it differently. It says, anxiety is happening within me right now. It's a temporary state, not my identity. With that simple shift, the emotion loses much of its power. You begin to see emotions not as enemies, but as messages, energy asking to be felt, understood, and released. This awareness also brings compassion for yourself and for others. You begin to realize that everyone around you is also caught in their own web of thoughts, fears, and illusions. They speak from their conditioning, not their essence. When you see this clearly, you stop taking things personally. You no longer meet anger with anger or judgment with judgment. Instead, you respond with understanding. And that, in many ways, is enlightenment. Not a mystical experience, but a simple, grounded awareness that separates who you truly are from the noise of the mind. You may still feel sadness, you may still experience stress, but they no longer define you. You can hold them gently, knowing they are passing clouds in a vast, open sky. The sky never fears the storm, because it knows the storm cannot stay. In this state, your relationship with life changes. You stop trying to fix yourself or become something better. You realize you already are whole, complete, infinite. The idea of self-improvement fades into self-acceptance. You begin to live with less effort, less resistance. You start to trust the flow of life rather than forcing it. And as awareness deepens, you notice a strange beauty. even your thoughts become softer. The critical ones lose their edge. The fearful ones lose their weight. The mind starts reflecting the peace of awareness itself. So when the next wave of thoughts rises, I'm not enough, I can't do this, they don't care about me, pause. Breathe. And remember, this is just a thought. You're the one who sees it, the one who remains when it fades, the one who cannot be harmed by it. That still, silent presence behind your thinking. That's who you truly are. Not the words, not the stories, not the fears. Just pure awareness, timeless, vast, untouched. Once you realize this, life becomes lighter. You laugh more. You forgive faster. You see beauty where there used to be problems. You no longer chase peace because you've discovered it was never missing. As this realization deepens, that you are not your thoughts, life begins to unfold in a profoundly different rhythm. The noise that once dominated your inner world starts to lose its urgency. The endless stream of self-judgment, anxiety, and imagined scenarios still appears, but now it's almost transparent, like mist rising and dissolving in sunlight. You begin to notice the quiet background beneath all that mental activity, a stillness that was always there, patiently waiting for your return. That stillness is your essence. It doesn't come and go. It doesn't depend on what you achieve, what others think, or how successful you become. It is the foundation of who you are, consciousness itself. Thoughts come into it, play out their stories, and disappear again. You're the awareness that witnesses the entire show. The mind, however, resists this discovery. It thrives on control, and awareness takes that control away. The mind says, you need me. Without me, you'll fall apart. But this is not true. When the mind quiets, you don't fall apart. You fall into yourself, into a vast, peaceful intelligence that doesn't think in words but knows in silence. You begin to experience what it means to live consciously. This doesn't mean never thinking. It means thinking with awareness. When awareness leads, thought becomes clear, creative, and compassionate. You no longer use thought to attack yourself or others. You use it to build, to express, to understand. Imagine for a moment a clear lake on a calm morning. When the water is still, it reflects everything perfectly, the trees, the sky, the light. But when waves of thought constantly disturb it, the reflection becomes distorted. Awareness stills the water. The world doesn't change, your perception does. Once you know you are not your thoughts, you stop searching for peace in the future. You realize it's here, right now, underneath every passing moment. It's not hidden in success or external validation. Peace is your natural state, the default condition of being when the noise of thought no longer clouds your mind. This awakening also shifts your sense of identity. You stop defining yourself by your failures, achievements, or roles. You no longer say, I am my job or I am my pain. Instead, you begin to understand, I am the awareness in which all these experiences arise. This understanding brings a freedom that's beyond measure. You can lose possessions, relationships, or titles, yet something within remains untouched. That unshakable peace is your real security, the one thing the world can't take away. But this freedom comes with responsibility, the responsibility to live awake. When you stop identifying with every thought, you begin to see how much of human suffering is self-created. Wars begin in thought. Hatred begins in thought. Division, jealousy, greed, all are born in the mind. When awareness steps in, compassion follows. You no longer see others as separate from yourself. You realize the same consciousness that looks through your eyes looks through theirs. This is where spirituality and humanity meet, in awareness. True spirituality is not about rituals, dogmas, or beliefs. It's about awakening to the timeless presence within you and recognizing it in all beings. It's about seeing through the illusion of separateness that thought creates. And this awakening doesn't remove you from life. It anchors you more deeply in it. You still experience joy and sadness, love and loss, but now you experience them fully without resistance. You can cry without drowning, love without clinging, and let go without fear. Because beneath every emotion, every story, this too shall pass. The beauty of realizing you are not your thoughts is that even your struggles become sacred. They become teachers. When pain arises, instead of running from it or labeling it as bad, you can observe it with awareness. You feel the emotion, breathe through it, and let it unfold naturally. Every time you do this, your awareness grows stronger and the grip of thought weaker. Over time, you start to experience life less as a series of problems to solve and more as a mystery to explore. The urge to constantly analyze and control fades. You begin to trust the intelligence of life itself, an intelligence far greater than the thinking mind. You see it in nature, in the rhythm of breath, in the beating of your heart, in the way life always finds a way to balance itself. You are part of that intelligence. You always were. Thought just made you forget. And now, when you sit in silence, maybe before sleep, maybe during a quiet morning, you feel that vast space within you, calm and infinite. The thoughts still come, but they no longer command attention. You let them pass, like clouds across an endless sky. You watch them drift and disappear, knowing the sky remains untouched. In those moments, you feel a simple yet profound truth. You are not the storm. You are the sky. You are not the voice in your head. You are the silence listening. You are not your fears, not your regrets, not your dreams. You are the consciousness that sees them all come and go. When you live from that awareness, you move through the world differently. You speak with intention. You listen deeply. You act not from fear, but from clarity. You stop needing to prove yourself because you know you already are enough. You stop fighting life because you realize you were never separate from it. And so, as you drift into sleep tonight, let this truth echo softly in your mind. You are not your thoughts. You never were. You are the awareness watching them. Vast, silent, eternal. Let that awareness cradle you like a quiet ocean. Let the waves of thought rise and fall without fear. You don't need to control them. You only need to remember. You are the stillness beneath it all. Because once you truly see that, you'll understand the ultimate freedom. The kind of peace that doesn't fade with time or circumstance. A peace born not from escaping thought, but from finally realizing you were never inside it. You are awareness itself, timeless, infinite, and free. When the storm of the mind begins to quiet, something sacred starts to awaken. Not in the sky, not in the stars, but within you. It's a light that was always there, patiently waiting beneath the layers of noise, fear, and self-judgment. It's the realization that peace was never something to chase. It was something to remember. And in this remembrance, the human experience becomes something deeper, something extraordinary. You begin to see life for what it truly is, not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. The weight of trying to become someone else fades, replaced by the beauty of simply being. You stop rushing through moments, and instead, you begin to feel them. The sunlight on your skin, the rhythm of your breath, the stillness between heartbeats, all become sacred reminders that you are alive, conscious, and deeply connected to existence itself. When you understand that you're not your thoughts, a gentle transformation unfolds. The inner critic that once tormented you loses its power. The haunting memories that once controlled you begin to fade into stillness. The anxiety that once felt unbearable becomes softer, quieter, like distant thunder fading into silence. You no longer believe every voice in your head because you've discovered the voice beneath it, the quiet whisper of awareness that has no judgment, no agenda, no fear. This awareness doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't demand that your mind stop thinking. It simply invites you to observe, to allow, to accept. Even when your mind becomes loud again, and it will, you meet it with understanding instead of resistance. You realize that peace isn't the absence of thought. It's the presence of stillness despite thought. And so, life becomes a dance between the noise and the silence, between doing and being, between the outer world of form and the inner world of awareness. You move through both with grace because you now know they are not opposites. They are partners in the same sacred rhythm of existence. You begin to look at the world differently. When someone speaks harshly, you no longer take it personally. You see their pain beneath the words, their own unconscious thoughts controlling them, just as yours once did. You respond not with anger, but with empathy. You begin to forgive more easily, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You start to understand that no one is their thoughts. Not you, not anyone. The angry person is not anger. The sad person is not sadness. The cruel person is not cruelty. These are all temporary clouds passing through a much greater sky. And when you live with this awareness, love naturally arises. A love that has nothing to do with romance or attachment, but with understanding. This understanding is what the great sages, philosophers, and poets have tried to describe throughout history. When the Buddha spoke of awakening, when Socrates said, "Know thyself," when Rumi whispered, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop," they all pointed to this same truth, that beyond the noise of the mind lies a boundless consciousness that connects all living things. You see, the mind divides. It labels, judges, separates. It says, this is me, that is you. This is good, that is bad. Awareness unites. It sees beyond form and thought and recognizes that everything, every person, every creature, every star arises from the same infinite source. When you live from this awareness, even the smallest things begin to feel miraculous. The sound of wind, the laughter of a stranger, the softness of your own breath. Everything becomes a doorway into peace. But this realization isn't something you reach once and hold forever. It's a practice, a gentle returning again and again to the truth of who you are. Some days your mind will be still, other days it will be loud. Some days you'll feel centered, other days lost. That's okay. Awareness doesn't judge. It simply sees. Every time you remember to pause and observe your thoughts instead of being pulled into them, you grow closer to freedom. Every moment of mindfulness, every breath of presence, every act of compassion, they all bring you back to your essence. Slowly, quietly, this awareness reshapes your life. You begin to choose peace over drama, silence over noise, understanding over reaction. And then, one day, you realize something beautiful. Life hasn't become easier, but you have become more spacious. Situations still happen, people still come and go, challenges still arise, but they no longer shake you at the core. You no longer define yourself by what happens. You simply experience life as it unfolds, knowing that behind every wave of thought or emotion, the ocean of awareness remains calm, infinite, and untouched. That is the secret the mind never wants you to know. It cannot control the one who sees it. The more you identify as awareness, the more the mind loses its grip. The more you rest in presence, the less power illusion has over you. You realize that every thought, every emotion, every desire is fleeting, yet you, the observer, remain eternal. So when your mind next tells you you're not enough, smile gently. Don't argue, don't fight. Just observe. Let the thought pass like a cloud. It has no power unless you believe it. You're not the thought. You are the sky it drifts across. And that sky has no limits. It has seen countless storms, yet has never been damaged by them. It has witnessed sunlight, rain, lightning, and darkness, yet it remains vast and pure. You are that sky. Infinite awareness that cannot be broken, stained, or diminished by anything your mind imagines. This is the final and most profound truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, timeless, formless, and free. When you live with this understanding,